All right, welcome to another episode of this week's Coaches Show. As always, I'm Cody Eastis, joined by head coach Brent Hoelting. Brent, as always, appreciate the time midweek. Recap last week's game. Look forward to next week's game. 62-34, the score over Phillipsburg, and your Greenbacks improved to 5-1 on the season. Always good to pick up a win at Zerger Field. Overall thoughts on that ball game?
Yeah, thought offensively, we played really well. I think we had, I know you go over the stats, 600 yards on 39 plays, so you're averaging over 15 yards a play. Can't beat that. Obviously, defensively, we were disappointed in our effort. Thought we didn't quite align right. We weren't assignment sound. And credit to them, they did some things that really knocked us off of our path. They did some things that they hadn't shown on film at all. But I didn't think we adjusted very well or play our responsibilities. But anytime you can get a win, I told the kids, and the goal is 21 plus with the district points, in the playoff points. So anytime you can get a win, anytime you can get a win at Zerger, it's hard to win. Half the teams in the state lose every Friday night. So we're going to enjoy it and then work on what we had to work on and get better for this week.
You mentioned the total yards. It was a lot of them that ball game, and it started with the opening play, the 80-yard strike from Poor to Morrell, and they'd go on to continue to have a great night. But talk about that opening play and how it just set the tone.
Yeah, we kind of thought from film maybe we could get him singled up and they wouldn't have much help over top, and then they didn't at all. They didn't have any help over top, and anytime we can get Arlie one-on-one, we're going to take it. And the big thing is on those hitches, they seem easy, but when you put the ball, and we did it a little bit later, a little inside or a little outside, Creston put that ball perfectly where Arlie could turn. And Arlie could turn and face up really quickly. Arlie made the guy miss, and then, when Arlie gets going, you're not going to catch him.
Yeah.
So and that's what makes him who he is. But I thought that was a huge play, set the tone for him having a huge night, a record-setting night, set the tone for Creston having a huge night. I thought set the tone for our offense for the game.
Yeah, you mentioned Morrell's record-setting night. The records, he got into the records book, 173 yards receiving, and that was breaking his own record from Cheney last year, and the 4 receiving touchdowns also into the record book. I believe that was Brett Windsor from Larned in 2018. Yeah. So Morrell having a great night. And again, we said it multiple times throughout that night, though. Couldn't have done it with the other half of it, which was Creston Poor. Poor with a great night, 10 of 14 on the night for 195 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. And then on the ground, too, we saw it again, 5 carries, 104 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. Continues to look good when he gets outside of the pocket, whether it's by design or forcing out and him just using his athleticism.
Yeah, no, and Creston made a great decision a couple of those times. The first touchdown run, they brought 7, and we can't block 7. They were man-to-man everywhere. They brought more than we could block. He did a great job of pulling the ball down. We were trying to single Arlie on a hitch go, and he pulled the ball down. And then I thought the underrated part, A, his vision was good, but B, was Arlie saying, all right, instead of just stopping, which a lot of people will do, hey, my route was covered, or the quarterback ran it, Arlie turned upfield, got a block, and that block allowed Creston to make a really good run, score a touchdown, and then Creston did it again. We had something set up at the end of the half, and he just pulled it down. He saw a big rush lane there. I thought his decision-making was fantastic the other night. He threw the ball to the right guy well over 90% of the time, which is what we want, and threw the ball really, really well. He had a couple that were called back. Arlie had 2 more catches.
I know. We still put it on the highlight film.
Yeah, that was a great ball. And that ball is what Creston is just such a talented thrower of the football, and I was glad he was able to show it because he throws those balls that he threw to Arlie on that long ball in practice all the time. Like, man, that ball could have been walked up and placed in his arms any better. It was just an incredible throw. Arlie did a good job of getting open. Creston did a good job of delivering it. Delivering it. So I was glad to get those guys going. Caleb also threw a nice ball to Arlie on the touchdown on a little trick play, and it was a good night.
Yeah, and you mentioned Morrell having that great block on Poor's first run. On the second one, it was Caleb Strong out there on the side, and we noticed it in the booth, both of Poor's big runs. And that's tough for a receiver to do, to turn into a blocker and not get the holding penalty because they don't know where that quarterback, that ball carrier, is going to be behind them. So, yeah, we wanted to definitely give props to Morrell and Strong for sealing those sidelines and letting Poor break them free. Yeah. Some other stats as we look up and down the stat sheet here. Again, big offensive night for the Greenbacks. You mentioned Caleb Strong on the ground. He had 4 carries, 96 yards is what we had him for. Poor's 103. And then receiving-wise, Gavin Roop got his second touchdown of the season, and that was another great ball from Creston Poor. Throw over his shoulder into the corner of the end zone. Cameron Cox, 1 catch, 48 yards, and Morrell's 9 catches for 174. Titus also getting in there for a catch and 11 yards. But just another example, I felt like, in that ball game of the Greenback athletes doing athletic things. Yeah. And when you put them out there, match them up with 11 other kids in the Greenbacks, more times than not, have more athletes on the field.
Yeah, and I think you pointed it out there. What we had 3 different guys throw a touchdown pass. And that's counting, we had a player of varsity. We had 3 different guys throw a touchdown pass. We had almost 3 guys rush for 100 yards. Another guy go over 170 receiving. Another guy catch a touchdown. Another guy had over a 40-yard reception in Cameron Cox. And I think that when we can do that and spread the ball out to all those guys, and they can't concentrate on any one guy, it makes us much tougher to defend. And then gets those guys open. And anytime we can get some of those guys in space, we feel good about it.
How big was it to see your team respond coming off of that collegiate win the week before, wondering how are they going to come off of a big win like that? Was it such a big win that it carries over in the wrong type of way where you don't respond then, or you stay locked in like the Greenbacks did and put up another good performance?
You know what you talked about, it's really hard. A lot of times it's easy as a coach when things are going bad in adversity. You can kind of rally the troops, so to speak, like, hey man, it's everyone, us against the world, and we're the only one who believe in each other, all that stuff, and get them to rally and know they have to improve. But it's a lot harder when you come off a big win to say, hey, great job, but it's not good enough. Let's get better.
Yeah, and they have them buy into that message.
Right. And so I thought our kids did a good job of that. Again, obviously, we didn't play our best game defensively, and we were, they can tell you after a win we were pretty hard on them in film on Monday for that. Got a lot of things we have to fix there, but offensively, like I said, we averaged over 15 yards of play, did what everyone. And defensively, we did some good things. We built a 21-0 lead early on. It's hard. It's human nature sometimes to relax more than you should. When you build a lead like that. But I was really proud of our kids for keeping their foot on the gas pedal, and I think we scored every possession.
Yeah, Greenbacks never punted once in that ball game, and just a great offensive night as far as efficiency goes, moving the ball when they needed to. Get to some awards on the evening. We'll see how close we were to matching your awards in the booth after the game. Our Timish Electric Player of the Game. This we went with co-players of the game. We don't do it very often, but this night felt like with the night that Poor and Morrell had. Morrell with the record-setting night, Poor 5 total touchdowns. Co-player of the game for us was Creston Poor and Arlie Morrell.
We did that on offense too, and we never do that.
It was that type of game. It really was.
Arlie set so many school records. Creston had such an incredible evening. And they were linked together like. Hey, they were both, for Creston for throwing for 200 almost and running for 100. I mean, that's an awesome game. 5 total touchdowns, like you said. And then Arlie, of course, the night he had. So, and then we had other guys. Caleb Strong had a huge night. Kate had a huge night again. Obviously, all starts up front with our big guys. I mean, let's talk about them.
Yeah.
I thought our pass protection was fantastic. All night. Josiah's doing an incredible job right now, sealing the edge. Madden Wilson's getting better and better every game. And so got to give props to all those guys up there, Luke and Farmer and Augie. So it takes those guys. Without those guys, and those guys will tell you, without them, they don't get anything. So it starts there, and then
you don't have that type of offensive output and efficiency without the big guys putting in the work in the trenches. So definitely shout out to them. For our Meade Lumber hit stick of the game, we saw one on 4th and 1. Now Phillipsburg did convert it, but it looked like Cade Liggett came flying in there. I think in the second quarter, maybe it was. Still got the first down, but it was a big hit that we thought was Cade Liggett. And we saw another one a little later in the game where Cameron Cox, with his wrestling background, kind of a suplex in the secondary. And it was one of those that when you're in the secondary, there's nobody else around. So it's kind of, you're on center stage and it's easy to see. So we ended up giving it to Cade Liggett, but Cameron Cox a close second for us on that hit stick.
Okay, so they were both good. We told you you're going to have to get like a bash cam.
Yes, I said that post game.
On kickoffs, and Bash had he had a slobber knocker on a kickoff. So he got it. He absolutely destroyed a kid on a kickoff. So he got that one. So it was a heck of a hit.
Oh, it's starting to sound
So,
like that award is pretty much his going
he's-
into a game.
he's-
Someone has to step up and take it
We've
from
told
him.
him that. Like, he's going to guarantee when he goes down on the kickoff, he's going to get a piece of somebody. Like, he's going to find somebody to hit, and they're going to know number 6 is on the field.
Yeah.
So he does a pretty good job of that. Yeah, he's a hard hitter. So we gave that to him. Going back on film, obviously we have that advantage. Defensive player of the game, a kid I mentioned earlier that is just getting better and better. He got doubled all game and didn't get moved off the line. I thought of all the problems we had, he was a really good bright spot. Had a sack, had I think three and a half tackles for loss. But Madden Wilson thought played a really, really good game defensively. And he's becoming a force in there. Thought he played really well. Adrian Tresner had I think 2 tackles and then recovered the onside. When they tried to onside, jumped on it. So he was our special teams player of the week. I thought he did a great job there. Stayed in his lane, did his job too on kickoffs. And then our scout team player of the week, kid who comes in all the time and again works his butt off and is going to be really good player. He's getting better week by week by week. Griffin Giggy was our scout team player of the week.
And you mentioned some of those defensive guys. Kyler Barker featured in Sports in Kansas this week just for the season that he's having, leading the team in tackles and up there in the top numbers when you look at teams across the state.
Top 5 and 3A
as well. So Kyler Barker, I want to give a shout out to him having a great season on the defensive side. For the
Kyler's incredible every week, and I think he'll tell you. We've run that stack alignment a lot, called tower, and Luke takes on a lot of people, and Kyler's very thankful for him. Luke does a great job of that, flying in there, sacrificing, making him cut back, and him and Kyler play so well off of each other. Kyler has done a great job of cleaning stuff up. Both of those guys have elite instincts. They do a great job of getting to the football. Kyler does a great job of tackling once he's there. You just don't see Kyler miss hardly any tackles. He does a great job of wrapping up because he's just such a smart, heady ball player. He's having an incredible season. And again, Luke's helped a lot with that as well by being the guy. And Luke's had a lot of tackles as well, but by being that guy that comes in and kind of takes on the lead blocker and with that tower alignment, then Kyler gets to come in underneath and finish it off, and he's done that.
On the defensive side, there also Hudson Titus back in the lineup for the Greenbacks against Phillipsburg. We saw him miss a game before that, but how important is it to have him back in that secondary for the Greenback defense?
Yeah, it just gets us settled back there. Hudson's really, really smart. He's a communicator, and he will fly downhill and hit you. He's another kid that throws body around. So I think it helps our depth. We can move some people around, get some more people breaks. And then he's an athlete and he's a smart kid. Again, we talked about smart. I think your middle backers and your safety got to be very, very smart in our defense. And we're fortunate to have those guys back there who are very smart, get us lined up right every time.
All right, the Greenbacks get on the road this week for another district game. Head to Clearwater, a team that we haven't seen a whole lot on the Greenback schedule, but in our district, and head out to face them. A big game, as always. Anytime you got a district matchup, big for implications before you get to the end of your season and start looking how things will shake out. What do we know about Clearwater?
Really, really good defensive team. Very good defensively. They've played well defensively against everybody that they played. Really, if you look at them across, Cheney kind of got a few in the second half at the very end of the game, but it was tight. Wellington's ranked 4th or 5th in most polls in 4A, and they lost 18-14, but they had the ball first and goal inside the 10 with 2 minutes left to go win the game. So they played some really good teams. They played them close. They beat Collegiate on a safety and a fake punt last week. They'll run a lot of trick plays. They like to run the ball. That's where their identity is established. They've got 2 backs that are really big and really good, really physical. They get downhill and hit you, and both of those guys also play backer for them. Their front 4 and their middle backers are really, really good. So they'll be a challenge for us. They haven't allowed a ton of points this year. Defensively, and then offensively, they look to chew the clock. They want to run the ball. They do a lot of different things in the run game. They're mostly gap scheme, pull a lot of guys, get a lot of guys, a lot of hats at the point of attack, and then they do some trickery and hide the ball and do some stuff. So we're gonna have to be incredibly disciplined, and we're gonna have to play very physical to be able to win Friday.
It should be a good game, Coach. Before we wrap it up, I want to give one touch on some news. I never like to look a week ahead when it comes to football with you, but a week ahead, the Pratt High School is doing an all-cancer awareness night on October 24th, so I want to get the word out as much on that and as often on that. So what that is on October 24th, Pink Out is usually generally the Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Right.
Great cause. October 24th is going to be an all cancer awareness night for the Greenbacks. That'll be that Cheney ball game, and we'll talk about that next week. But you can get on USD 382 Facebook page, and there's a Google Doc form where 2 forms. That's all you got to fill out. A first name of someone, a loved one that has been through the fight, has fought it, and what type of cancer they were battling. And the students from PHS are going to hang ribbons with the names on the east side fence. So trying to get as much awareness raised for that cause.
And obviously, incredibly cool cause, and we want to support. Carrie does such a great job. Your wife with that stuff, and obviously she's one of those courageous survivors we talk about. It's a cause that hits near and dear with me. My brother-in-law is battling cancer right now, Kevin, and he's awesome. You would never know it if you knew him. He's one of the toughest guys I've ever met, and he has such a positive attitude about it every time. So it's a cause near and dear to all of us. Everyone usually knows someone affected by, unfortunately, by cancer. So anything we can do to get the word out about that, pray for them, support them is something that we want to do, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, a great cause. So wanted to mention that. That's going to do it, though, for us here this week on the Coaches Show. Clearwater, Friday night, tune in, Thunder Country, or on East Coast Media Facebook. We'll have it all for you there. As always, thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time. All right, that'll do it.